So guys, today is the day we're gonna be getting my truck lifted, but I have my buddy Nick. He already has the McGaughys 4-inch lift kit on his truck, so we wanted to put them side by side so you guys can see them. And one thing I'll tell you is this: if you want to lift your truck, level your truck the right way, this is how you do it. This is perfect. I cannot say it enough. When you see these trucks side by side, it's a different animal. Like, you can see that 2 extra inches. Now when you have an AT4X ZR2, the truck already has what they call a lift kit. This is a leveling kit on the front end, and they just add a 1.5 inch block in the rear. So that's how they're able to get that rake on the suspension that you need if you're towing a trailer. But when you go to the McGaughys, you can get more of a level truck, but on top of that, you fix a lot of the issues like with the droop travel on this setup here. So I'm gonna have Nick, you guys see Nick right here, he's gonna explain a few things here for you guys. In the next video that we do, we're gonna be turning up my torsion keys, because some of you guys keep saying, man, like, you don't need to lift your truck, it's too expensive, you can just turn up the keys. Okay, well, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna show you guys why that's not a good idea. So stay tuned, let's jump into the video.
Are you turned all the way?
I'm turned all the way.
You're turned all the way?
I'm turned all the way, dude.
Did I just find another salient point on the 4-inch kit? Are you seeing that already?
Dude, I see that too, actually, yes.
Does mine not turn more than it?
Dude, that's all the way for me too.
Really?
All the way.
I don't know. I think it's an optical illusion. I don't think that that's exactly possible. We might have to get engineering involved in this one. But I see that right away. I'm turned all the way too.
I held it too before it turned off.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, it looks like yours just turned out more, dude, for sure. Wow.
Yeah.
It could be because of the lift, but I think it's turned out more.
Well, so, you know, obviously this has got an aftermarket knuckle, and
True.
You know, the lower control arms are the same. The upper control arm is slightly different, but it's really not anything in the control arm. More than likely it's in the knuckle. The knuckle possibly has a little bit more turning radius in it, but that'll be a Steve question.
Okay.
You know, he might be able to say, and we might just have picked up on we might be adding another bullet point to this situation. It's not that big of a difference, but yeah, at least it's not robbing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because a lot of times, like some of the Fords and some of the Rams, you know, they lose steering radius because the bigger tires against the you know, radius arms and stuff like that. So obviously we're not losing radius, which
Correct.
is
Yeah,
positive.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, do you see, does my tie rod look a little bit more severe than yours does too?
Yes. Oh yeah, like 100%. So obviously with the lift kit, it puts the tie rod on the top side of the knuckle, okay? And see how flat it is? And see how flat the CV shaft is? And then you go over here and you notice that your tie rod's at a little bit slighter angle. So like put it to you this way. If this McGaughys kit was turned up another 2 inches higher, then it would replicate those angles that are on your truck.
Got you.
Okay, that's like, if you really want to put things into perspective, your truck is turned up 2 inches. Like, just term-wise, the height of the suspension is up 2 more inches than a factory, you know, ride height.
Correct.
That's why you're seeing those angles. And then this is at a factory ride height. When I say factory, I'm talking about a stock non-AT4, non-Multimatic shocked HD.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have the upgraded steer knuckle too.
That comes in the kit.
And that comes in the
That's part
kit.
of the
So
kit. That's
yeah,
part
okay.
of all the equation of like what it takes to properly lift the truck. That is when you come into a actual lift kit. That's what a lift kit is
Yeah.
knuckles, subframe cross member that drops down the lower control arms, and then the spindle makes up the distance between the lower ball joint and the upper ball joint that it's created with the lower control arm moving down. And then, you know, again, this is a good time to point that out. Like when I tell guys, oh yeah, your truck's already leveled on the AT4Xs, they're like, it doesn't have a leveling kit. And I'm like, that is what the aftermarket world considers a leveling kit. Whether you want to grasp that or not. And the funnier thing too is that, so I think it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of sad that when you go, for a guy that wants to learn about these trucks, there has not been any type of deep dive from GM that explains these suspension, you know, what comes on this truck.
Right.
Like you go on their website and it says the AT4X or ZR2 comes with a factory 1.5 inch lift, which is like very vague because technically it's actually 2 inches on front and then 1.5 in the rear. So like there's just not a whole lot of information, and there's a whole not any information about the multimatic shocks.
Right.
And those have been around for years.
Right.
So, you know, honestly, it's really not the consumer's fault to be really blind on what to do with these trucks, because GM has not done a good job at explaining them. And I didn't know what they were. True story is that when my wife and I were looking to buy one of these trucks, we saw an AT4X and she's like, "Oh, what about that one?" I'm like, "Nope, we're not touching it. It's got multimatics. There's nothing developed for that truck. I don't want to get involved in it. You know, it's too premature." And then fast forward 1.5 years later, the research, I dug into it. McGaughys, you know, producing their kit, and here we are. I bought one.
Yeah.
You really can't. You know, I know it's up for people's, you know, personal opinion if it's worth buying one of these and then doing a lift kit, but there's a lot more value to this truck other than just a 2-inch factory lift. These trucks come with a factory locking diff.
Yep.
And then the interior, you know, if you are a guy that wants the Denali Ultimate interior, the nicer seats, the massaging seats and everything, well, you can't get that in black. You have to get the brown Ultimate, and I wasn't into that. So to go black, I had to go with the AT4X, and then by the time we were looking at AT4X, we splurged for the AEV.
Yeah, there you go. And you did a good job. Now let's go on the other side really quickly so they can see. Let's start with my suspension first. On the back side here. So this torsion bar.
Yep.
You guys see the position of it right there.
Yep, it's in the factory position, and that's gonna stay like that with this lift kit.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's the before. Get a good look at it, and
I want to point out, and I know we've talked about this, but I want to point out that some people think that these trucks come with lift keys in them, and the adjustment keys that are right there. If you can point to it, right there.
yeah.
Okay. People think that they come with a lift key, that the AT4Xs and ZR2s have their own key that's designated to the platform, and actually they don't. That key is the same part number at what comes on a regular 2500.
Okay.
The way that they that GM produced the lift in these trucks, instead of putting an indexing, you know, lift key in it, they indexed the lower control arm to get the height on the suspension up on the lower control arm.
I see. Yeah, they restyled that lower control
Yes.
arm. Okay, for that extra ride height. I see.
Yeah.
Let's show them what McGaughys does when you get their lift kit.
Well, it looks exactly the same, but we'll go look at it.
Well, yeah,
I mean, it looks. But then it has
down the.
Yes, it has a cam that you know, a bracketry that you know, drops it down, but the torsion bar stays. That's the greatest thing about it, that you don't lose any ground clearance in this area. And I will want to point out, I hear a lot of chirping online, some good, some bad, but guys are like, "Oh, you lose, you know, it's an IFS truck, you don't gain no ground clearance." Well, in a straight axle truck, you don't gain no ground clearance other than you know, your tires. Like you don't. So all in reality, we're no different than a straight axle Ram or Ford. You know, no matter how anyone that wants to break these, you know, break down in a negative way an IFS truck, you're really not losing or gaining.
Right.
Okay, so JB, I think we did discuss this one night, and I'm not gonna, like, this is not a bad thing about you, because I know you're really meticulous about your vehicles. Like, I watched your channel, I watch how you take care of your stuff, but check this out. This is a sad thing about in any truck, whether it's a Ford, Ram, anything. You see those parts underneath there, like that are all kind of like surface rust on them, the CV shafts, and then like on the center link, and then if you look way up in there, then the diff mounts and stuff, those are all, you know, surface rust. And the thing that's sad is that you spend all the money, you finally make a decision of like, okay, I'm going to invest into a lift kit, or I'm going to do whatever to my suspension, and then you take it to a shop and they put the suspension on, but they don't ever ask you and give you an option to like clean up those factory pieces and make them look better. Well, we're going to take care of that. We're, you know, between myself and yourself, we're going to clean those up and we're going to paint them while the lift is being installed, so we can kind of take that off their hands. But we're going to do that, so then it comes out like this one.
Yeah, that looks so much better.
Yeah. It's not a GM, it's not just an isolated GM thing. The Fords are like that, and the Rams are like that. So if anyone starts to say, oh, it's a GM thing, you know, no, it's not.
Yeah, that looks
any new
so
truck,
good.
very, very small, you know, detail, but makes a big difference on presentation.
Yeah, look at that. And that is, I mean, whenever we have snow, I always wash out my truck. So, I mean,
yeah, but it's not, there's no coating on it.
Right.
So no matter if you wash it off or not, it's just inevitable that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad we're going to be protecting that now. So it looks, that does look pretty bad, for sure.
Show them that.
Yeah, let's.
Of the torsion bar on the lower control arm.
Yeah, so that cross member right here. So I guess the point is, if GM were to build, if they were actually to build this truck in the next generation, they would modify the framing of this truck to give it the suspension travel that it needs, like the droop travel, right?
Yeah, but the problem is, like, I think we kind of touched on this in one of our phone calls. You know, yes, I get it. We could harp on GM, the manufacturer, to step up and actually present the public something better, you know, for this platform. But the reality is that there's such a high volume that this chassis, from what I've researched, there's no difference on this chassis compared to a regular 2500. So consider that if they had to do those modifications to the chassis, that would lower the volume of the chassis and increase the pricing drastically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
True.
So in manufacturing, you got to look at things, what's valuable. And, you know, at the end of the day, this chassis has been used since 2020 all the way up to current. Well, now consider how many less of this special chassis would be. It would increase the price of the truck drastically.
True. That's true.
And you know what? It's better that we do it aftermarket side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. It would be probably another $5 or $6 grand on top of the price too.
Well,
probably.
then you would be looking at I hate to say this, but then they would build it to their specifics that is limited to their specifics only, and then you would still now be needing to figure out what people will be wanting to modify them again.
Yeah.
And
true.
so then you're looking at a whole nother SKU and design altogether. I am totally happy buying this platform truck, even though I put a lift kit on it. And it wasn't because I valued the 2-inch that was on it. I valued everything that was built around this truck, what you get with it, and skid plates and all that stuff, which, again, I'm not going to be rock crawling this truck, but
sure,
it's just nice.
Well, I got to say one last thing too. I see less cutting already with your kit. Yeah. There's less cutting with the McGaughys.
It just requires a trim on the front differential to clear the differential. And I know there's a lot of guys that have HD trucks or IFS trucks, you know, whether it's a 1500 or 2500, 3500, and they're always like, well, what's the lift kit that requires no cutting? There is none, because when you do a lift kit, you properly match the differential, the pumpkin, the front diff housing to come down, which then it collides with the cross member, and so you have to relief that, so then two things can be in the same place. There is no kit out there. There's kit now, mind you, just for the guys that are searching, there is companies that say they word things, they play the wordsmithing really well, but if you want to really make sure that it's true or not, go to the instructions, because step 10 is going to be cut your differential, you know, your cross member. Meanwhile, the bullet points made a different statement that you thought, but when you read into it, because there is one out there that someone's asked me about, they're like, it says no cutting. I'm like, read it and then go look at the instructions. It's just wordsmith. Yeah, but those cuts don't mess with the integrity of the framing of the truck at all. They're very small. But so I always praise about and talk about no front track width gain, and a lot of people are like, what's the big hoopla about that? Why do you keep on talking about that? Well, you know, for the guys that are, you know, don't want to get so intrusive on modifying their chassis, well, when you go to a wider track span, the torsion bars also get wider. And when the torsion bars span gets wider, the torsion bars go through right here. They go through what's called the torsion bar tunnel, which is right here. I see. Okay, so the torsion bar goes through that frame, and the problem is when you widen the track span, you have to hog out that tunnel, so the torsion bars don't bind up in the tunnel. Well, since we have no, you know, with this kit, there's no front track width gain. You don't have to modify any of that, so it's less installation time and effort. Got you. And again, less modifications to the chassis. And if anyone's worried about the modifications to the chassis and warranty and everything, look up Magnuson Moss Warranty Act. It basically states, it's been around for years, it basically states that a manufacturer cannot void your warranty unless the modification is proven to be the casualty of the warranty, of the part that needs to be warranted. So for example, this lift kit, even though I have the lift kit on it and I take it in and I want the upper control arm warranted, well, no, they're not going to warranty the upper control arm because I have a McGaughys upper control arm on it.
Correct.
They're not going to warranty the ball joint because it has an aftermarket ball joint on it.
Correct.
But they can't just void my whole truck warranty if my stereo goes out.
Yeah, it's against the law. It's against the law to do that.
It's against the law.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the things, and there's a lot of dealers, you know, sales reps and everything, and I'm not going to say that they don't know what they're talking about, but an education or what they've been said by dealer of like, hey, just tell them it's going to be voided, and then like, let's, you know, because they're modifying these trucks off their showroom floor.
Yeah, well,
a lot of them are.
Well, customer pay a lot more than warranty, so some dealerships know that, and if they can tell a customer, hey, warranty's voided, and they're going to pay more money. So that's yeah.
And I'm so passionate about it because I've been doing this for so many years and helping so many people out, and I feel that that's like one of those things that make people feel awkward of like they want to modify their truck, they want to join the club and do something, bigger tires, bigger wheels, and you know, basically show off their personality through their truck, and they feel like they can't because of their warranty. And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone should be worried about that, other than they need to understand that they have a responsibility to know that if they replace their upper control arm, yes, GM's not going to replace their control arm or their ball joint. That's on them now, or working with the manufacturer of that product.
Correct.
So just things to think about. You know, we all should be able to modify our trucks.
Absolutely.
Now, I wish I could modify my truck like yours.
Well, hold on.
I know I can. I'm not sure when I'm going to be.
So I have a weight loss program, and one of my active grill shutters went out, and one of the techs in the shop says, well, his warranty's voided.
Yeah.
And the master tech says, well, why would it be voided? I said, this is a known issue with these trucks.
Yeah.
And they fixed it.
Yeah.
No problem.
It comes down to what dealership and what service manager or technician.
Yep.
You know, some dealers are just very scared of stuff because they don't want to get involved, and it's totally understandable. If they don't have any knowledge on the rest of the components that are within that system, I can get it. But still, at the end of the day, they cannot just void your warranty just because. I mean, you changed your emblem.
Yeah.
They can't void your warranty.
Exactly.
I mean, they're not going to warranty out a black emblem.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just look. You got to look at it in that way. But look up Magnuson
Moss Warranty Act. There you go.
Warranty Act.
Yep.
Been around for years.
Yep.
And it's not just for trucks. It's all automotive. Anything aftermarket related. That law has been there to protect the consumer.
Yeah. So real quickly, a lot of you guys keep saying, oh, well, you won't be able to tow a fifth wheel or gooseneck trailer anymore if you lift your truck. So this truck is lifted, right? You see? I would venture to say that our trucks, actually mine sits a hair higher in the back simply because of the rake. So yeah, you're really getting more of a lift on the front end and just a very small extra lift in the back. So I would venture to say, if you are in the market to do a lift on your truck, this is the way to do it. You don't get any extra track width up front with the tires, so it will match the rear, and you're gonna get that droop travel back that GM decided not to give you because, hey, at the end of the day, they're in the business to sell you trucks, and they want to do it at a cost-effective price point. If they were to modify the frame on this truck, it would cost significantly more for a low-volume trim package. So stay tuned in the next video. We're going to turn up the torsion keys, and I'm going to prove to you guys that is not a good idea for the ZR2 and AT4X trucks.